Now we want to invite the president of the Chamber of Commerce of Cali, Mr. Esteban Piedrahita, who will be talking about this development. Thank you for being with us. Thank you. Well, good morning to all the members of ASECOLDA. Humberto, thank you very much for the invitation. So the idea briefly is to focus in one of the topics or one of the chapters that was mentioned by the director, and I think it's a very important one. When I was a director of the national planning, I didn't give it the weight. Now that I see the president's agenda and now that I am in the job I have, it is worth talking about this productive development, what the economists call the new industrial policy or the 2.0 industrial policy. We know beforehand, before the 90s, what was industrial policy, subsidies, we had imports, promotion of exports. Then in the 90s, and in the time we had Mr. Botero was at the government level, we were in the world of the laissez-faire and opening. The idea was to open and to liberalize the economy, to open trade channels with other countries. And in this century, in the last decade, we have been seeing a new theory, an understanding of what the state can do. For example, the market gaps, coordination, and to make a productive development, being convinced that just with highways or just with signing treaties, that philosophy, build it and they will come, is not enough. You need to work within the companies, with the chains, and in the ecosystems in order to generate transformation and change and greater productivity and sophistication. And this is what we have been doing at the Chamber of Commerce of Cali. Chambers of Commerce are Colombian. They are especially entities. They have a function from the state, and that is the registry. This is what this is our budget. The law can help us. We can do almost everything thanks to in the past, we were taking care during difficult times. We were in charge about working environmental topics, and so thanks that the city is better, that the institutional management is better, we have been able to focus only or almost exclusively in productive development. We feel that we can make a contribution to society. We believe that we are the ones that we should work with the entrepreneurs. We have the capability to contribute there, and we do not have productive development agencies in Cali. When I got to the chamber, there was no economic secretariats. They were closed at the end of the century. Another purpose, having here Gloria's present, the idea is to invite the government to take advantage of the Chamber of Commerce and to demand more. They have a network of 57 chambers with important resources, with a good reputation, with capabilities and knowledge, that if they are focused more, and if the government demands more, they may be important stakeholders for managing the territory. Many of them are considered as regional development. No, we are talking about, because in regional development you can fit anything. So we are in a region that is sophisticated. There are some other stakeholders that work there and work in different environments at regional level. We have decided to focus in this level. So there, the goal that we have is to be the stop for the companies that want to grow in the region. These are companies, projects, companies that if you want to be in the territory, you need to go to the Chamber of Commerce and you need to be connected to us. In our webpage, we're going to have some value. And we have set up 7 areas to play. One, we have the contact point with entrepreneurs and the way to collect data in an efficient way. We have almost all services are virtual. So the idea is to do everything in less than 24 hours. So it will not be the most important thing, but to be the most simple thing for businessmen and the most accurate in collecting good data and disseminate value data. So the second thing, I'm going to give a couple of examples. We have decided to be the reference in the generation and production of data, to know it better than anyone if it can, disseminate data so as to be able to develop value programs to adjust what we do. We do like a laboratory. We are not, it's not makeup, there is no magic formula. You learn doing, and we are aiming at knowing the territory and to learn from what others do and to be allied with the Da Vivienda group. We work on entrepreneurship in order to put together resources. So the other point is we carry out programs and we have tools for growth of companies. So we were receiving the national agenda. Now we want to be able to take to the government and private foundations, the mayor's office, programs and ideas to co-finance, always investing and asking money from the entrepreneurs. We do not do anything free. We ask even for a small amount, but it's important because we want to be the best in fixed cost and registry operation in order to be able to invest and to have the others. Thanks to our reputation, we can do excellence and we can measure impact, so we can use more resources for development. We have a line, for example, the chambers. I think you know Certificamara, you have done some business. This is with the profit aim, and this is aligned to our mission, and at the same time it has to do with our function. This is an area we're exploring interesting thing with one of the sponsors here, and that is in an early phase, but we feel that the information area we can play with with that criteria. And even if we are a mid-sized company, we have to communicate in a powerful manner. We have to make visible what the entrepreneurs do in the region, to be able to have attractive conversations differentiated with our public in order to look at the importance for the prosperity of any territory and to generate reference and role models for our companies. Very quickly, something we do different from the other chambers, we produce a lot of data, we purchase databases, we purchase intelligence, especially the sectors of greater interest of us. We publish reports based on that. We do reports every week. We publish an economic report on a macro topic of a interest for the region. We also publish books, and we accredited the economic study unit as a research unit. We are doing the only survey that is done in the country in chambers of commerce. We were able to send it to the Cauca area. We survey more than 4,000 entrepreneurs every half year, and we are generating our own data that is highly valuable. We have achieved, we were able to measure, and we were able to hire new people. It has been shown in the unemployment rate of the next half year. It is interesting. The chambers should work more in generating better data about this territorial process. With respect to entrepreneurship, one of the priorities is that we love that word in the development plan that was missing to have growth and the scaling up. That helps. When I got to the chamber, I didn't have an idea about where I was going to take that. I found a good consultant that helped me they were telling me in Twitter, where are we going to have something similar to what they have in Bogota or Medellin in entrepreneurship? We didn't have the scale of Bogota and the presence of this sector. We didn't have EPM with Medellin, but we have been able to achieve with limited results. We were able to set a high impact system. Cali was the pioneer in micro entrepreneurship, but we had very little. And at that time, we had the pillars of the ecosystem with more than 100 mentors, the financial mechanism, networking space, different companies, and new phases of growth. We're more focused in scaling up, and we have something in an early phase, but we're working more with companies that have already a proposal, a value proposal that have been validated for the possibility of growing, and the program starts always with strategy. We have found out that it's fundamental with companies of any size that the first conversation is there, and the first programs should clearly know the selection, the resignation, the value proposal. We understand that at all levels we are missing power, we are missing clarity, and we are working, we have to work there, and we have here, we do a lot of work in entrepreneurship. We did a survey. People from Cali, Cali was successful between the 20s and the 60s and the 70s. They had a very difficult years after that. We need to understand the mindset, and we have to work a lot on mindset.
We had a web series for entrepreneurship with our partners. I believe it was the first web entrepreneurship course, and we are constantly talking about entrepreneurship. We are going to have Héroes Fest, which is a very important entrepreneurship event. We've had it in Bogota, now we're going to have it in Cali. Yeah, you're all invited to attend. We are expecting more than 6,000 people. We have an active community. It is very important to work on the community's brains. We have mentors. We have very systematic programs of networking, but with methodology. And we have served almost 400 entrepreneurs. For example, together with the communication ministry, with the governor's office of Valle del Cauca, and we have very important outcomes. We measure everything, baselines, to try to measure the impact with those companies that were very close to passing and those that passed the threshold in order to make impact comparisons. Well, 400 companies is indeed a very interesting number. And in the previous government, Colombia started talking about this type of policy, the ICT ministry, and we were given tools to carry out this type of things. We've done very important things with Colciencias that has been deployed around the country. We have been able to work with SMEs in terms of training in innovation, and also with mid-sized and large companies in the implementation of innovation processes. But even the largest companies in the country, they innovate, but they do not have the methodologies. We've worked with consultants of Israel. As you see, 700 companies we have worked with. They invoice almost 4 trillion Colombian pesos, the large ones 8 trillion Colombian pesos. These are very interesting figures, and actually we've been the ones that within these programs in the countries, based on these prototypes, they learn to have an innovation system, and they launch a product within the program that invested 24 billion in these programs, and they have produced 10,000 purchase orders. We have more than 500 people that have been Genie certified. 2 years ago, we worked with Conferencias, and we have a regional technological development agency with 5 accredited universities with which we are working closely in the clusters. And each university is like the godfather of a cluster. We established this agency. Conferencias was considering having a research transfer technology. They take the supply of universities and they market it, but now we have shifted this to demand what our companies needing in order to look for this in universities and research centers. And this year we have become the leaders in patent applications through this agency that has peers in other important regions of the country. Well, I ran out of time. I just need 5 more minutes. As to financing, we see that high impact entrepreneurs do not have company models. They know they need money, but they do not know what for, so they work in awareness, preparedness of companies. We bring in investors, and what we've done with Activa, which is a fintech company of Medellin, to have a flexible credit vehicle which started last year. It has disbursed 18 credits. Bancolombia chose us at national level to deploy their program, credit for entrepreneurs. And obviously, we still have a long way to go. But the lesson is that we can do things without having multi-millionaire resources. Well, to wrap up, we have a very interesting clusters agenda. We have found that to work with supply logic is very interesting. This is different from trade associations. As to, for example, macro snacks, some people like for sugar to be high, others for sugar to be low. That's not the discussion. It's a pro-positive discussion on what can private parties do with the universities, with the governments in order to add value to this. We've mapped this. We've tried to give distinctive names. They are known in Bogota and elsewhere. And we've learned that this needs to be led by entrepreneurs. It's useless for the chamber to do that. I mean, if entrepreneurs do not buy in this effort, this is not going to work. And the idea is to think about a chain to see which are the gaps of the chain, which are the companies that we must attract to the region, which are the joint needs that the chain has, led by medium and large companies. But the idea is that these chains drag 4% of the companies, and they account for 50% of the sales. So each of these chains set an agenda and action plan. We embark on projects, networking, exhibits, fairs, positioning of the chain, economic reports, comparing what's happened in the world of shampoos, in the world in Latin America, what's happened with snacks around the region, and we are starting to put in place the governance of these chains. They do not have they do not have that many people working. It's like a lean organization. It's a small team, and companies devote time to this because they are seeing value. With macro snacks, we have decided to develop snacks for the California market. We have worked with the University of Valle, small as Calima, large as Colombina, and fragrances, prototypes of companies. We have validated this in the California market, and we're working with other 10 of different sizes. As to clinical excellence, the idea is to help the 5 important clinics of the region to put in place an innovative network They do not have like a formal systematic center with measurements in order to do modern innovation and to measure the impact of what they do. We did this with some researchers of Barcelona. We have worked on white protein with poultry with the Universidad del Valle and the Chamber. Something similar in cosmetics, and we have also congresses. We put together those that are on fragrances, ingredients, with those companies requiring it. So that's the end. This is just a coincidence, just to leave you with this data, is that in Valle del Cauca for 5 years we have been growing above the national media, and that's our slogan: if companies grow, the region grows. The regional differences presented by Gloria are also large in terms of institutional development. It would be interesting to think about the context of articulations with the region in the National Development Plan, and to be able to take advantage of the chambers of commerce that cover the whole national territory, that sometimes that's the only organized presence of the private sector in certain regions, to take advantage of the experience of chambers with developed training levels, as Esteban has told us about. Gloria, we can think of some chambers, giving them the degree of freedom they need. So it would be very interesting and useful to potentiate the high degrees of training that chambers such as the one of Cali has, to support the other chambers that are lagging behind. And the other brief comment, and it's taking part of the speech I gave on Wednesday. Orinoquia, it's 22.5% of the national territory, and it has a huge development potential that we have not yet used. At the same time, we have a severe coca bushes production problem, mainly in fragile soils, and it has no sense transform them to harvest licit crops, but to transform them into forests. That can make us think about an induced transformation process, emphasizing this on coca bushes grower, for example, in the region of Nariño, mainly Tumaco, towards the Orinoquia. In the National Development Plan of 2010, CAF and FEDESarrollo joint efforts in order to produce to the national government that in August of 2010 they will touch on different topics to have an impact on national development. One of the plans was the Orinoquia. Juan Benavides, a professor of Universidad Los Andes, with whom you're going to meet, that conducted the works that I ordered. Then I know that Gloria is only going to start working in these topics, but Orinoquia has the possibility of becoming an important development producer in the country, and to effectively contribute to the solution of illicit crops. Well, these were just some closing comments. I want to thank Gloria and Esteban for these excellent presentations.